front sheath, I'm going to invite you into two different options for this pose. It's dragon pose, and it's dragon pose how you may not recognize it with a wall. So depending on how adventurous you're feeling today, you can choose one or the other. I'll explain the poses, and then from there you can make your way into whichever one you choose. So dragon, as you know, has many forms, many faces. This dragon is going to be, because it's focused on that front sheath, it can be an up dragon. And I like to make it a short step. This simply balances out more for me, but you can also allow that front foot to be however is needed. And if your knee feels sensitive, go ahead and place a blanket there. So this is our up dragon. You can do whatever you want with your upper body here as well. The other pose I will guide you into as a choice. Again, you pick one. You're going to hold it for about 3 minutes, and you will need something. You may need something to support at some point, either if you're putting a knee on the ground or the foot on the ground. You'll see there are a couple of different ways you could also do this. So you may need a blanket as well. But what I'm going to do now is a pose known as giraffe pose. Remember, the names are not so important. It is dragon with the wall. So I may place a blanket here underneath my knee. And just allow for some padding here. And then I'm going to grab this left leg, although it doesn't matter because you're going to do both sides. There's no sequencing. There's no one pose that immediately follows another. I'm not doing like a right-left class. So I'm going to bring my left leg up to the wall, right? And I'm just touching with the toes and then allowing that knee to rest on the wall. And then from there, I'm finding a stress where the front sheath, just like dragon, the back leg here, this is where you're looking for that quadricep and or hip flexor. And then you can, of course, be on your forearms, on your elbows. This is more reasonable. And some people even like to kind of really make some form of support so they can be comfortable here. So you can use a bolster. This is more into that like lesser known variation realm. And so you could use a bolster on a block to kind of support your chest as you're holding up in that giraffe pose. If you're choosing the giraffe, right? So if you're choosing the giraffe, this is kind of more of a resting approach to it. And it is without the bolsters, quite yang in nature. It is true, but some people can hold here for a little bit and be comfortable. You can use the bolster, and depending on how high that back leg needs to be, you're playing with the position of your torso. So try that out if you wanted to ever get into giraffe and see how that feels. If you're in a dragon, an up dragon, go ahead and find and shift into your pose. We won't be longer than 3 minutes here. You will notice that even with the bolster, even with support in giraffe, there is a slight, a tent awareness of your upper body. So you're the one that needs to figure out here if that is effective or not effective for you. And this is where I really bring out that element of not all functional yin yoga poses are completely passive. And I know that for some people, this isn't, the way to teach yin. That's why I also give options. But if I want to get to the target area, the shapes are not so important. And in this case, too, my target area is relaxed. My upper body is slightly working here to help keep me up, even with this support. But at the same time, my back leg leaning into the wall. And if I want, I can even relax that foot and just allow it to fall. It is finding its target area. Now, is this a pose for everybody? No. Did I give you another variation option? Yes. You can hold for the full 3 minutes or come out when needed. I think dragon very often in any shape, whether you're with the wall and this cousin of dragon and giraffe or on the floor. It is not a position that you'll very often not wonder, okay, is time up yet? And this is when, again, your focus, your attention needs to come back to your breath, to the target area. If anything is too uncomfortable to the point that it feels injurious, or too uncomfortable, even in an internal way, internal landscape wise, then you can always choose to come out of the pose. And we're going to slowly shift our shape into a more neutral one, into a rebound pose. Rebound pose, especially when we're not holding the poses for too long. It can't even be just seated back on your heels. But if you were in that dragon shape, then you can go ahead and lay on your belly on your side or on your back. If you are with giraffe as well, any position. I am personally just choosing to sit on my heels for a moment. And we'll prepare the other side. So again, depending on what variation you have, that dragon as a choice, you have the giraffe as a choice, simply for this session today. And so now I start on my hands and knees, right? This actually, it's more comfortable for me in a way to hold from here. But you're allowed then to go back onto your forearms. It will come back up when needed. And then I bring back my other leg and I put the knee and kind of plant the knee on the wall. I like to start with the top of the foot on the wall as well, because this helps me kind of push into the wall with the foot and just kind of find my ground here. And I can start here, right? And you should be feeling that you're stressing that front sheath of that leg that you have back. Take a few moments to find your pose and to not worry too much about if you need to shift that shape a little bit as you're holding in the pose. If at some point while you're holding you realize, nope, this is not the pose for me, that's also perfectly okay. So this may be a good time for a really short storytelling while you're holding this, but the world of variations and functional yin yoga variations really just came from when we would practice with Paul in the teacher trainings and we would explore the target areas. We would very often see each other doing really interesting things. And then at some point, we would talk about it, right? Paul would come up and say, well, what are you doing in this pose? And how does it feel for you? And sometimes he'd say, that's really, interesting the way you put that in a different angle, on a different support. And this is how this pose, for example, came about. For somebody was very effective. And every time we would do a dragon, she would find her way up into this pose. But again, this may not be what works for you. And this is why we always give options. Not every pose is meant for everybody. And I personally like to be up on my arms, extending them, because it allows me to find more of that back bend element. So I'm actually adding an extension of my spine here, becomes more effective for me. It loses a certain yinness quality, even though my target area is still relaxed here. And you can start to come out of the pose and shift into your rebound, either laying on your side, on your belly, or on your back.